Okay, welcome everyone to this week's NHP Plus call. This is the reading offers call, or not reading offers, sorry, the offer fundamentals call. We're going to be doing a lot of integrating of some of the concepts we've been learning about in the last couple of weeks, and talk specifically about scaling low ticket offers on paid media. And just kind of more from the not from the technical side in terms of like media buying, that's Charles, Lauren, the guys there, but more from like how do we actually structure these things so that they work so that they're actually scalable in the first place, right? Because it's very easy to say I want to scale something, but if you build it in such a way that let me start sharing the screen here. If you build it in such a way that you're um, built in such a way that it's not scalable based on a few criteria of your own, then you're going to run into some issues. And just anyone who's popped in, your mics may be unmuted, so just be aware that could potentially be speaking um, to the room. So just one other thing before we kick off. I've had a couple of people ask me about live launch and just there's been a bit of confusion there, just which is my AC program, or my getting my help for your offers. And so just to kind of differentiate what the difference between these calls and live launch is essentially live launch is just an implementation program where like you get increased feedback cycles. We'll do kind of hot seats and fast feedback multiple times a week, just increase the rate of optimization on your offers essentially, so we can work on all the qualitative factors, the headlines, the copy, the offer structure, optimizing upsells, your data, everything from front to back, your call booking process, etc., all that type of stuff. So obviously, I want to help everyone here as much as possible in the NHP Plus offer fundamentals calls, but there's only so much time that we can have, given the amount of people we have here. So if you do want any more specialized help, you can reach out to me on Discord, and we can talk about that more there about how I can help you with that. But that's essentially what the live launch program is. And in a nutshell, it's while I'm going to share everything with everyone that we have to get you up to as high a standard as possible. If you want more direct, personalized help, that's essentially what it is. And obviously, Lauren and the other guys have their own respective programs for that as well. So if you've got an offer and it's working and you want to scale on paid media on Facebook, Lauren's your guy. Maybe you want some CRO stuff. Let's say you've reached scale. Brandon's your guy for split testing ideas, and then Charles obviously is the same for Google Ads. So that's just kind of the overview of how the live launch programs work and our respective kind of fast forward style programs. And so let's jump into the today's call. So again, the concept here today is scaling low ticket offers on paid media. And it's really like building them so that they're even scalable in the first place, right? Because it's very easy to say, hey, I want to scale up my offer, but if you actually build it in the wrong way, or you build it for a niche corner side market, your expectations going in may not align with the outcome you actually want, right? So the objective here is to how to kind of build offers for scale first and foremost, and then the main mistake that people make when trying to actually make offers that convert. So let's jump into the Facebook group here and we'll have a quick look at this post I did a couple of years back. Oh, Adam's here. So this is a post I did back in June 2021, which is nearly be 4 years now in June. And this was called Belief in a Better Future, which is the secret to funnel-wide conversions. And what I want to actually pull from this is this image. We'll pull it over. It's a good post. You should read it. And it will help you gain some understanding of as it relates to this call. We're going to expand upon this concept here now. Just pull this into the doc. Hopefully we get this works perfectly. Yeah. So this is kind of working on the towards and away language Alan has, right? The anchor for this whole post is essentially that the anchor for this whole post, which we'll touch on here now, but all purchases are anchored to a better future at some point in time, right? Point in time. Now it goes into way more detail. And so the better future can be tomorrow, it can be minutes away, seconds away, or it can be years, months, or whatever the timeline is, right? So there's a timeline component to this as well. And so obviously, the closer in time you can get your offers to feel like the outcome will be generated, the more appealing they are. But it's also then comes into the realm of realistic, right? If I can say I can make you $1 billion tomorrow, with no work, while that's a hugely appealing outcome, not realistic, right? For in terms of it doesn't pass the sniff test as such. So that's a good foundational reading post, and I think it'll build nicely on this call after you've watched this call. If you have not read this already, this will definitely be one that's extremely worth reading. Now, building on that, over the last 2 weeks, we've discussed tangible versus intangible as a concept, and then we've also covered inside and outside psyche. And we're going to pull these three concepts together. Someone is potentially unmuted there. Just make sure you can check your mic settings. We're going to pull these three concepts together as well. So tangible versus intangible, inside, outside psyche, and then belief in the better future is going to lead to going to be kind of what we're going to try and pull together here on today's call. So let me just pull up quick notes here. Sorry. First, so what intangible versus intangible, just a kind of quick highlight reel of this is essentially all of our products are digital, they're non-physical, meaning that they are intangible in nature. And as a result, the more confusing and mysterious they are, the harder they are to purchase. And so our goal is always to make the intangible feel tangible. We do this with timelines, naming conventions, etc., good product design, qualitative, quantitative factors, etc. So the goal is to make the intangible feel tangible with our offers, right? I'm speaking specifically to a kind of AC style offer. If you sell e-commerce products, they're tangible by nature, and so the self-evident nature of the product is part of what the selling and value proposition is. But speaking in an AC context or just info product type business, the goal is to make the tangible feel intangible, or essentially feel real. All right, so that's the objective here. So that the outcome from the product feels attainable. So that's kind of a quick shot overview of that. And let me just zoom these down. And then inside, outside psyche, we'll just do the same for that here as well. Some bullets. Inside, outside psyche is a very powerful concept as well, where the language we use when selling our products and services can either be inside or outside the psyche of the end customer, right? And what we mean here is essentially, are you using your language? Are you using language and concepts that you understand, but that your customer doesn't? It doesn't. And the best example we have from the previous call is SEO, right? SEO guys tend to use lots of technical terms, backlinks, domain authority, internal linking, external linking, etc. There's a ton of technical language that when they typically try and make it doesn't even have to be an AC style product, any way that they communicate with their customer, they will tend to use technical language, technical jargon, which completely confuses the end user from purchasing, right? And so that's when you make if you're running an AC offer, and as it relates to this call, and the reason I'm bringing the belief in the better future stuff in here at the start, so we'll expand on that here as well. Why this matters is another key concept. understand. If the reason these two concepts relate to this is if you make your product feel intangible, meaning I don't understand it, and I use language that's outside the psyche of the end user, I cannot believe in a better future after the product. You've made it too mysterious to me that I don't understand what's being sold. So this is why inside outside psyche relate to this. Yes. And
What's up,
tangibility.
Kevin?
Hello, how are you? Who's
Killing
speaking?
it, dude. Alan.
Hey, what's up?
Just did hot seats.
How'd you get on? Crush it as always.
Yeah, dude. Murdered some coffee today. I got this new clothes called
I thought one of them, yeah, was good. It could
what was it called? Are you
coffee.
open to it? I'll send it later. I don't want to interrupt your flow.
Yeah,
It's
no,
amazing.
no worries. No worries at all. Um, so yeah, so this is why inside outside psyche and tangibility relate to belief in a better future, right? Um, if you're if you're if anyone who lands on your landers sales pages, product pages, or whatever it is, webinars, book a call funnels, um, if you are using confusing language and make the product feel intangible and confuse the end, creating buyer confusion, they cannot conceptualize the outcome from the product and what's being sold. And so I thought I'm gonna have to change those. This is the new Zoom account, right? So I'm gonna have to figure out where those auto mute settings are. everyone's coming in with
Wait till we start drawing on your screen, dude. I got the pen. I got the pen there. I got the pen there.
um, and so this is where the kind of whole concept of this is where the whole concept of scalability comes, right? Which is kind of the kind of overarching view of this. Now, Alan obviously is going to have some strong thoughts on this because he's the
Just weak,
grandmaster.
weak thoughts today. Just
Yeah.
weak thoughts. Brain is shot from hot seats. Nah, I'm kidding.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm not gonna hang too long because I do have to. I just did 3 hour, whatever, 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't even know how long, but yeah, it's like if the mind can't imagine it, um, then they can't feel something. They have to literally picture in the mind, right? And so like if something like Kevin says is intangible, then they have to exert tremendous amount of energy trying to make sense of it. And what they do is try to piece it together from like any type of mental connection resource they have. And if they can't connect it, then they're not going to see it. If they can't see it, they can't be part of it. And if they can't be part of it, there's no emotion. And then, we can't expect them to translate what it is, right? This is where abstraction and copy comes in.
Yes.
And abstraction is the great enemy. So a lot of times when I personally work on offers, and Kevin as well, is like just first thing I look for is like, all right, is this abstraction? If it's abstraction, it's like, oh, this thing is like, toasted. So
Think this is it's a good example. I did actually some of the guys here in AC, or sorry, in NHB. Uh, Adam is who I'm going to be doing a reading offers call for him in a couple of weeks. But actually, on this exact issue, um, I'm training a new designer. So I said, look here, let me help you out, and I did a redesign of his funnel, right? So I reached out to him because obviously I want to see everyone succeed. And this is Adam's kind of current product, and this just we'll kind of link this back to the tangibility stuff. So this is the current version of his product, which is his procrastination elimination formula. And like these are fine bog standard graphics, right? We'll get the job done inside of a kind of MVP style launch. And I think Adam's even been running this offer with some kind of great video ads to really build some good awareness for the product. But I kind of noticed very obvious way that there was a weakness in this funnel was just here in the graphic design. So what we did was we took his sales page, we ripped it apart and figured out what the identity of the buyer was, and then we rebuilt the offer for the audience. So as you can see, we've taken the original design, which was where it was, and we've now made it more tangible, right? And if you can see here from just like our color gradients, the stylizing of the elements, identifying what the avatar of the audience is, which we're going to talk about later on the call here as well as a whole heap load of qualitative factors on the design. We've taken this from what was, not necessarily a terrible design, but it's certainly gone from good to great, right?
Huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, monster difference. Like just all of the actually one of the things.
The design, just the design makes you want to buy it. So good.
Correct, correct. Because
Yeah.
this is what I mean, linking it back to tangibility. This is we're going to do this. I promise Adam we do a reading offers call here now. So the fact that I'm kind of front, he hasn't even tested this yet. There's other things we could fix in the page, but this was just one of the first easy, very very big wins that I felt I could give him. And because it was an opportunity for me to train one of my designers, I said, hey, look, let me help you out here, right?
Yeah.
But
Wonderful.
I think, I can't find chat, but like it's pretty obvious from where it was to where it is now. Like this this feels real. If I come to this page, he has two versions of the product. One's called Superhuman CEO, which is why we've kind of gone with this visual imagery, and then the other version is the kind of more mass market procrastination elimination formula. But as you can see, this product feels much more real. There's a lot of care gone into the design. The qualitative factors of the design are self-evidently showing that there's intentionality with the entire design. It's primarily a male audience, which is why it's all male imagery, right? And that's who he completely works with. So we didn't need to focus on any of the kind of female avatar at all, just because it's kind of wasted real estate as such. But this is what I mean when this is what we mean here on the original call, which is that this helps them believe in a better future. It's inside their psyche in terms of who they want to become, and it's tangible, right? I can see. I may not fully understand everything about this, but just having seen this image emerge on the page here, automatically feel engaged. And so this was a lot of care went into making this good, but this is the type of thinking that is going to actually emerge here on this call. So actually, let me open up chat here for a second, just make sure uh, see everyone else, what everyone else is saying. Lauren, yeah. Where do we get that picture? Yeah, sorry, I have I'll license your image rights. I forgot to do that one, mate, but we'll make sure that's done as well. So, okay, let me just check my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything kind of as our lead-in pre-frame on this. But yes, so as you can see, that product feels a lot more tangible. I think this is going to really help Adam's offer. And this kind of leads very nicely into what I feel is the objective is to scale offers on paid media, right? We want to be able to scale our low ticket offers on paid media. And me and Alan have talked a lot about this. That one of the big mistakes people make, and this isn't a kind of concept I've even shared with Alan directly, but I know he's going to agree with it because we've waxed lyrical on this quite a lot. But so there's a couple of things that you want to consider when building offers for that scale. One is the avatar of the audience. The other one is your TAM, or total addressable market. Is Heather on the call, by the way? Actually, Heather, are you here? Just let me know if you are. Yes, she is.
I'm here. Sorry.
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to use you as an example here, if that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah, perfect. Market. Total addressable market. And then the final one is mass market versus question mark. Let's leave that one. We'll leave that one on a cliffhanger for the moment. So the avatar in the audience for Heather. Heather is selling she's selling a publishing offer, right?
Yes.
Which is publishing your own book, and specifically for children. I suppose this is children is the way it's positioned at the moment, right? So this isn't really the avatar in the audience. This is kind of the offer. So we'll just separate this out. The offer for Heather. I'm going to remove all this yellow because this is for subhead. So the avatar in the audience for this is someone who is, for the current version of it, for Heather's product. So I just put this here, case study. Heather, and we'll call it V1. And then we're going to call the next theme V2. Right, so there's a couple of issues and issues, I mean, I don't mean this in a negative context. What I mean by issues for scalability with the current formulation of Heather's product. And I injected some doubt into her with my feedback on the broader opportunity. But we're going to deconstruct here why I was saying that. And this is kind of linked to scalability, right? So Heather's avatar audience is someone who wants to publish a book. But because her current offer also has the criteria of children's book, it's a dual. There's a dual criteria that are needed for the audience to say yes. So, and Heather's actually had this problem where people have bought the book and thought it was just book publishing and didn't realize it was specific to just children's books or primarily with that focus. And this creates a problem, right? And because we have a dual criteria, they have to we create an if-then statement. Meaning, if I want to I want to publish a book, if then is what I'm saying, maybe I'm saying this wrong. I want to publish a book and it's a children's book. Meaning we've taken our total addressable market and shrunk it. So we've taken the size and scope of the universe of people who are eligible for this product and made it smaller by adding additional.
One thing.
Go ahead.
You know, one thing I want to just add, by the way, on this note, when it comes to ads and stuff, it's like one thing I'm seeing a lot is like if you're running ads quite a bit, and you know, like the more you increase the ad spend, then you had this thing where it's like, you know, the performance like isn't as hot. And one thing that helps a lot is just start looking at people not who are giving you money, but rather who are not giving you money. Because, you know, if they're not giving you money in this pocket, the more you spend, the probability isn't going to go. Now they're going to all of a sudden, you know, give you money. And even if they do, it doesn't increase the exponential rate. And so one other thing is like also all that stuff that Kevin talks about is really good. I would just add, Kevin, maybe if you can touch upon like inverting the criteria and talk about who will not buy it, right? And then excluding people, because like as you scale the ads, like I had somebody on hot seats just an hour ago, whatever, and it's like it was like nonstop, just like, you know, redo the VSL, redo the ads, whatever. And I was like, all right, dude, we, you know, like we've done this for a long time. We got to go look who's not giving you money and start excluding people. And like when you start excluding people, you're basically telling the Facebook algorithm, look, I don't want to spend money on these people. They're not going to give me money, whatever. Because then you have these like co-probabilities, like what else causes the probability to increase, right? And so, for example, it could be the age, could be the gender, could be a certain interest, could be a certain geolocation or whatnot. So digging into that data is really helpful. And like if you guys want to know more about it, like I don't know if Charles, are you on the call? Charles on the call?
He was
I don't
meant
think Charles on the call.
he may have got caught up.
Yeah,
I
no
will
worries.
say,
Yeah, but
funny enough, Alan, that's actually what we're talking about tomorrow on the Facebook
oh,
call.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
it
Yeah.
works out.
Oh, I didn't see you, Lauren, but yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Lauren also would you know, if you want to chime in on this stuff, but this like excluding stuff is like really the key. And like I really like what Kevin is saying, but I think like also when you combine it with like who will not buy it, like on the ad side, the invisible, you know, the invisible stuff that, you know, it really helps you narrow in putting in front of people who do.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, that's how you keep going.
Yeah, well, I think the perfect place to talk about this was the criteria inversion kind of links to what I was going to talk about with V2, because a lot of the advice I've been, not a lot of the advice, but part of the feedback I gave Heather was, hey, I think the scope of this product could be much larger by just removing this children's book component. And the reason Heather hasn't done that for immediately is because to remain in integrity for herself, she wants to make. I've only published.
Children's books.
I've only published children's books, so she has a limiting belief around the concept
Wow.
of publishing in general. But the way I look at it would be you have
The same process, I think.
yeah, exactly. It's largely
Yeah.
the process. So that's there's nothing right or wrong with that, but that's where that was part
I
of
have
the
I have too much integrity, even
yeah.
as a
See,
lawyer.
no,
It's
no,
like I
no,
just,
Well, you're not lying, Heather. Like the thing is, like here's the thing: you can go talk about publishing books, and you can use your stories of how you publish children's books. And I don't think anybody's going to sit there and be like, "Oh, you didn't publish this book or that book." Like I don't think anybody's going to question your integrity, right? And like we just disclose it on the page. I think it'll be okay, you know.
100% completely agree. And so
Hmm.
that's the exact where we're going with this. The avatar and the audience, we're going to dive deeper into avatars in general, but just kind of using this case study.
Kevin, can I just ask you a quick question? Like
Yeah,
if I were to, make the program, like actually it's probably scaled down because it's like illustrations and rhyme and meter and stuff that you don't have to worry about if you're writing, a traditional book. Um, would you just have like, you ever have like a page where you're like, oh, are you not a children's book author, but you're like, looking at and then have them redirect them to like, a different landing page for like, oh, we have a program for that too, or is that
yeah.
typically?
The way I would run it, because you've already had sales for this, and I haven't, like, again, I haven't done a super deep dive into your data as such, so I don't know like how large the current audience is. But because you have it running, I think get your upsells built, and then
Yeah.
you can run it on low scale, targeting the children's audience, because I think there is a market for this. I think kind of like moms who the market that jumps out to me is kind of women, who are maybe, you know who have already been mothers, or maybe even young childminder type characters. And one of my ex-girlfriends, actually, funnily enough, fits the avatar for this perfectly. She always wanted to write children's books, and that seems to be me to be the main avatar. So I do think there is a market for this. I just think that it's been condensed down versus anyone who wants to publish a book. Like the whole audience here wants to learn how to publish, right? Like for example, let's say Theo here. Theo is working on publishing and offers with other people, and maybe they want to learn how to launch on Amazon. What, like, do you think you'd have no capacity to help them deal with the self-publishing side if Theo came to you for advice? Of course not. Of course you could help them with that, right? Some of the children's specific stuff may not be applicable, but for the process of publishing, absolutely could, you could help there. So that's,
You know what it sounds like? You know what it sounds like to me, Kevin?
yes,
Sounds like Heather should do a biz op.
yeah, I agree. I don't think,
Probably
I,
should.
I hear there's a lot of money in teaching, FTC would agree,
yeah,
publishing and stuff like that.
yeah, just don't.
That those were very AI written books are just crap. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry if anyone's done it, but I mean,
I think it
the
would be
fact
difficult.
the fact that I'm
I
like, oh,
think
you
it,
can make books money, that was kind of a lie.
I think it'd
No,
be very difficult to sell uh, a biz op with books like mass market. It does require effort, aside from the AI, you know what I mean? So yeah. No, I don't think a biz op would like I don't think a clear biz op would work.
Yeah, I
there's a
think
lot of work in it. That's the problem. People don't want to do the work, I guess.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
they do. There's a huge segment of the market that's very passionate about writing and stuff like that. Like
Oh,
we built the Meta Clients Accelerator, we built like a best-selling author offer before. Yeah, there are people, a lot of
okay.
people who
Yeah, yeah.
who have a book in them.
Yeah, I think I think
Mm.
I think I think I think that market is, to keep it in integrity, though. You just want to make sure, oh, we're not, here's how to launch your book and sell, 10 million copies. That's where you start getting into
Right.
the issues, right? It's the claims you make about launching. That's the issue. But if your process is, if your offer is, look, let's if you want to launch your own book, and then your upsells are, let me give you frameworks, to formatting, etc., to make it even easier and faster. I've shown you how to do it. Then we can deal with formatting. Think it could be a great offer. And I think there's plenty of people who want to write books. So I think that market is, in fact, there's
I
offers that are doing
I
there.
want to write books. I want to write books.
Yeah, exactly. So like everyone,
You
everyone,
I'm serious. I think
everyone
it's a
has
wonderful market.
everyone has anyone who's got a creative impulse likes the idea of writing a book, or likes the idea of publishing a book. So
Anybody who says ChatGPT wants the book. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. I think we, linking it back to the concept here of total addressable market, I think you can make the offer more appealing and
Yeah.
expand the total addressable market by removing the children's components, right? I do think there's still a niche audience for us, and when the right person lands on your page, like if you're working with Lauren or Charles on the ad side,
Hmm.
those guys can get it up and running, but the ceiling that they're going to be able to push you to with that type of offer is much more constrained from a scalability perspective versus just publish a book. If it's just publish a book, it's a much broader category, and so you're going to have a much easier time being able to build it for scale. And this kind of touches on the final point of one of the final things that we're going to dive into on the call, which is kind of mass market versus mass appeal, right? Um,
Mm,
the
that's great.
this is the kind of this is one of the binary thoughts. If you look at all the calls that I've done so far, when any theory, it's a binary thought. I like binary logic, because even though it's not so black and white, it creates a very easy inclusion exclusion criteria. So mass market versus mass appeal. We'll dive back into the notes here now and actually just jump into this now. We'll flesh out your concept a little bit more as well, Heather, in the notes. But let's come back to this. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes. So your V2, right? We'll just take this. We've kind of covered it here on call. I'll clean these parts of my notes up at the end of the call. But your V2 is essentially, I think your V2 becomes more powerful by removing the children's book, removing the dual criteria, because it's no longer an if. I said if then statement, I meant if and statement. If and statement was if I want to publish a book and it's a children's book, essentially, right? I want to publish a book and it's a children's book. We just get to remove these. And so now we have a broader audience, and the total addressable market that we have increases. Size and scope goes up. So this is what I meant when I was giving you the feedback on these previously. Was I think you can expand the pool of people by retweaking the offer, and I don't think there's any more work, right, for it to be in integrity. And speaking to what Alan's point was, criterion version, who will not buy? Well, you're now expanding the pool of people who will buy, and so but the people who will not buy on the previous version of the book would be, well, I don't want to publish a children's book. I want to publish a book, but it's not for kids. It's a science book or it's a how-to manual. So this isn't for me. They may say, well, maybe I can figure something out from this current product, but they can exclude themselves. They can actually say, no, this product is no longer for me. And so let me pull up my notes here again to make sure that we dive into mass market versus mass appeal, right? So
It's funny because the first landing page that I had, we didn't specifically say children's book on the landing page. And that was my first customer. She bought it and she's like, oh, I didn't realize this was only for children's books. I'm like, oh, there's so much information in there. You can definitely use it. But if you want a refund, here's my honesty. I'm like, I'll send you the refund. She's like, yeah, I'd like a refund because they don't want to pull it out. And then on the second landing page, the one that you've seen, I did get specific for children's books. So the first one that came through was not, but I do see that. So you didn't put doubt in my head that wasn't already there. I just figured, we already did so much. We'll just finish that and then move on to
I
other things.
think a children's version would still sell, and I think you get that running on Facebook. I just think, if I'll pull these numbers out of the sky, and I'm not saying these are definitely numbers. If you can scale the children's version to 500 to 1,000 a day in ad spend, I think you can probably do 10x that with just a broader version of the same offer. You'll have an easier time scaling. You'll have an easier time pressing forward with paid media, because I think the if and statement is not creating this criteria of people who just say, I literally can't say yes to this because it's not for me. Like, I want to publish a book, but it's not for kids, right? And I don't think that there's anything out of integrity for you to say that, because you have the skills, you can teach them how to publish. So let's use this as a segue to talking about mass market versus mass appeal. And this, sorry, I'm going to fix the font size on this first of all. This is the number one thing that I see people doing wrong, including when we link in intangibility, inside outside psyche, and belief in a better future. This results in the mass market problem versus mass appeal. And what we're going to do here is, so mass, everyone wants to scale, wants to scale their offers, right? Now wants, hundreds to thousands of customers a day, and so to make that happen, I have to go after a large market, right? So now there's still plenty of room for a lot of offers, but what ends up happening, by wanting to go after a larger market, what ends up happening is the offer becomes generalized versus specific. It's another issue that comes up. And more importantly than that, by pursuing going after a large market, what ends up happening is you create a massively vague product, not one with mass appeal, right? And so in pursuit of going broader, water down the outcomes, add confusing elements to the product, try and position the product to serve more people versus PEO versus serve a specific problem.
Okay.
Go ahead. Someone speaking up? Or we got a mic issue? Okay, and so this is the main problem that ends up holding people back from having an offer that is even scalable whatsoever, right? So if the goal is to sell hundreds of units, 100+ units a day, they have an offer. You can't simply expand the audience to suit that criteria without expanding the appeal of the product at the same time. So that's big. Now I'm going to go back into my notes because we've kind of inverted a few things, and I want to talk about specifically TAM, total addressable market, and the avatar, because these are very important for scalability in general. And so for Heather's example, we expanded the total addressable market to anyone who wants to write a book. And that could be 10% of the population on any given day, all over the planet. Book, let's use this example, and I'll put on the one. And the avatar is anyone with a pulse, right? But we know how pulse over the age of 18, more than likely. But we also know that given that this is their objective, we can speak to them using very specific outcomes for the product. So let me just dive right back into my notes because I want to make sure I've missed nothing. And
Kevin, can you just share the doc, please?
Sure, of course. Sorry, I thought I'd done that. That's my fault. Alvin not being here has thrown me off.
With anyone?
Link, yes, copy link, and we throw that into the chat.
Thank you.
Apologies. Here we go, guys. Just let me know if that link's working.
Yep, it does.
Yes, excellent. Okay, yeah. Perfect. So firstly, let's actually use this as a natural pause in the call. Can people see where I'm going here with this call, and is this valuable so far? Are we getting any value out of this, guys, or am I completely just gone off on a okay, perfect. Excellent. Okay, super. There's obviously I'm pulling a lot of different threads all together, and believe me, I've got of these kind of binary thoughts. I've got hundreds of these, and I'm just kind of zooming in on what I feel is the most logical set of steps to help you all understand them and integrate them together, right? And I think this call is going to be really good for integrating all of that. So let me go back to sharing my screen. And so Tam is, I'll bring these back up to Heather's offer. Just leave these up here. I'll clean these up in my notes later. So let's talk about total addressable market. And then we're also going to talk about the avatar. So we'll start with the avatar. Now, lots of people, I'm not this guy who goes on and digs into, Amazon reviews and, reads a million Reddit posts or, spends eons on YouTube researching my customer. Like obviously you can do that, but I tend to be more of an intuitive creator. And so the way I typically create, now it's very similar to me in this regard. We're kind of birds of a feather flock together on this. We just kind of imagine yourself inside the psyche of someone who your product appeals to. And so the way I like to think about avatar assumptions, well, you can do it through a research lens. And Charles did a call there last week, which I think would be from an avatar research. I think it's maybe his first call, which just helps find additional criteria that people have really nicely. So if you're more research focused and you want to add one of Charles's calls back into this, I think you get a lot of value out of that as well. I'll find the notes. I'll put the link to that in my notes somewhere at the end of the call because I just can't remember which call it is right now. I think it was his first call. But the avatar assumptions I work off, right, are who are they? What do they want? What problems are they facing? What is it costing them to not solve this problem? And what will it mean for their life when they finally solve it? There's more to it, but these are very good, simple base assumptions you can use. So, and you can actually even see with regards to Heather and her product, which we're analyzing there. I did that process intuitively as we were talking through her current version. Who are they? Well, they're probably, young, maybe childminder carers, could even be nurses, or potentially, mums who are, they have young or small kids or not, right? So that's kind of who they are. What they want is they have a story or they're uniquely creative. The problems they're facing is they don't know how to actually publish. They're overwhelmed. They feel completely intimidated by the process of publishing it all. And what's it costing them not to solve this problem? Well, they're sacrificing their dreams, right? Their dreams, their goals, things they want from them, and what will it mean for their life when they finally solve this problem will be self-actualization, right? I can reach a vision and a goal and an identity for myself that I want, right? So these would be kind of just the off rip. There's more, but these would be the off rip off rip avatar assumptions that would jump out to me without doing any research, reading the product, anything. Just putting myself inside the head of the end customer and imagining who could possibly be a fit for this product. And these would be the types of things that would jump out. So, and then you can play with age range and all that sort of stuff. But these are kind of just very basic, simple, kind of intuitive set of avatar assumptions I'll use. And then even from a total addressable market size, I can take the same set of assumptions and imagine what the market size for this is. So without even going to like Google or doing any kind of like demographic research, you can imagine, well, like, okay, if it's moms who are if it's mothers who are have 2 or 3 small kids, you can just look at like how many people in the population fit that category. Well, it's probably 10% of people immediately that are just moms, and then they also have to want to write a book, and it has to be a children's book. So now we're taking 10%, we're taking another 10% of that maybe who want to write a book, 10% who are moms, 10% who want to write a book, and then 10%, maybe even 10% again who would specifically a children's book, right? So we've taken what was 10% of the market just on of mothers, and we've shrunk it down to 0.1% just through adding the additional criteria, right? So that's how I think about the total addressable market. It's a very shorthand, dirty way of thinking about it, but this gives you, I think, a good set of tools mentally for just having mental models of how will the additional criteria I add to my offers via how the additional criteria I add to my offers in terms of the way who it's for will shrink and expand the market, the total addressable market for the offer, right? And so you can then obviously go and do all of your research on Google, Facebook, etc. And let me put this into my notes. So for Tam, you can, from your avatar assumptions, from your avatar, can then imagine how many people in the market could potentially fit into your customer avatar. And then other things you can do. So for example, I can then say, well, what careers? How many nurses in the United States? 4.3 million, right? So that's 4.3 million people. And we're still talking about Heather's market. That's 4.3 million people who are nurses. I think nurses probably are a reasonable cohort of people who may be interested in Heather's product. How many mothers in the United States? How many, actually, better way of getting this question is how many children are born in the USA each year? 3.4 to 4 million births, right? So we've got probably 4 million mothers a year who are having new kids. And so each mother has maybe 2 or 3 kids. So we've probably got, 8, 12, 15 million mothers vary by stage of life. And so that will change our avatar assumptions. But I think this is another good, reasonable set of quick, dirty, shorthand approximations about how we can think about our markets. So now, if we remove the constraint of children's book, you can see how we immediately, the market just gets way wider, right? And so you can use this style of thinking to think about your total addressable market size so that you can have an offer that has a remote chance of being scalable on paid media, right? Because if you choose a niche market that has that's in a that has people who are in it, but it's there's a small user base, or small potential addressable market, you're going to obviously run into an issue with scaling. You'll get the offer working, in particular with Facebook. You'll get the offer working. You'll get a few customers in a day, and maybe your goal is only to have kind of 5, 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 customers a day coming in, and you have your kind of small micro niche offer, and that's great if that's what you want. Super. Don't let me tell you not to do that. And I think that's where Heather's children's offer kind of feels like it could be. You could maybe even get that to 100 sales a day with really good targeting and optimizations, etc. over time, right? But at some point that offer is going to just hit a ceiling just based on the potential number of people who are in the total addressable market for it, right? We have that constraint gets introduced. So I don't want to say what Heather's goals are or aren't, but this is just something to be aware of before you build your next offer, right? Before you're building offers at all. This is something you want to be kind of layering into your thinking. And so these avatar assumptions help give us a picture of what our total addressable market will look like. And so if we want to expand that, we then need to think about this from a mass market, mass appeal perspective. Because what ends up happening is when people try and go mass market, you get these Frankenstein offers that promise nothing to everyone, because the intuitive side of people's characters realizes that they have to expand the pool of potential customers. And the way they try and do that is by speaking to everyone in a generalized way. And so I suppose we may as well touch on this now. So this is where generalized versus specific comes in as a so where generalized versus specific comes in as another mental model, right? Okay, and so we'll just give a quick overview of it. Generalized products tend to speak in broad strokes and unclear outcomes. Specific products tend to speak with clear outcomes and clear promises / language. Right. So you can layer all these models together. So you can have tangible and intangible. You can have inside psyche, outside psyche. You can have mass market versus mass appeal, and then you can layer generalized and specific, and you can tie all these things together. So you can have a tangible product that speaks to the customer in a way that's inside their psyche, has mass appeal because the promises it make are clear and specific, right? And so this is why generalized and specific is a subset of this mass market, mass appeal stuff. And the way you do that is by honing in on a very clear outcome, even when trying to go super broad. So I'm going to open up the mics here again, because I think this would be a useful point in the call for some dialogue back and forth. What's coming up for people? Does anyone have any questions? We can go back to the Google Doc as well. Suwash, feel free to I may have said your name wrong, but feel free to unmute yourself, and we can just start touching on this.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really useful, and actually, I've been thinking about this for the last few weeks. So, just a quick background, right? So, I've been having my own coaching offers for the last 8 years, and now looking at scaling. So, it's been mostly organic, made 2+ million in sales. And so my ideal client is a Muslim coach. So it's very niched.
Yes.
One side is they're Muslims, and I've also focused on coaches.
Yeah.
right? So part of me, recently my confidence has been growing a lot in the last 6 to 12 months because I've had more people become clients that are not coaches, even though we're not really marketing to them.
Yes.
So, and in the market, there's very few. It's a blue ocean market. It's a blue ocean, right? There's very few that have a really great program that are geared towards the wider Muslim entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about how do I. So one, the Muslim market is quite small,
I
right?
would say that now. I think, and I don't want to cut across you, but Heather's if-and statement is very different than your if-and statement. If I'm a coach and I'm a Muslim, like there's still 2 billion Muslims or whatever it is worldwide. It's a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? Now maybe they have to be English speaking as well or whatever. I don't want to go too deep into that, but there's still a lot of people in that category. Heather's if-and statement is a little bit more constrained insofar as it has to be a children's book. That's a very narrow scope part of the problem. It's kind of slicing in. While yours does have a dual criteria, which creates, essentially an overlap. So you think of it like a Venn diagram. It does create an overlap that they have to both sit inside. I feel like your Venn diagrams overlap far more deeply than Heather's, which I feel kind of skim over each other a little bit more based on the children's book component versus I think the Muslim coaches I think would be is a broader catch-all in general, if that makes sense, right? So there's kind of nuanced thinking we need to have for that. But I think that to me seems more like an opportunity based on an underserved market of coaches, as opposed to a constraint of I don't want to go after. I wouldn't go after that because why not just make it just coaches? Because then I can speak to everyone. Well, I think that might be a superpower for you in that instance because it's a much more obvious way you would segment an audience because it's at an identity level as opposed to a
Yeah.
product.
So I'm not thinking about removing the Muslim part. Like we've had people that come to us that from all different backgrounds, from Jewish, Christians, because they see we're really good at what we do. But what I was thinking about more around researching, and I've been playing with time with looking at the total addressable market in ChatGPT, right? And I think it's looking at shall I focus more on focusing on entrepreneurs in general or stick with coaches?
Yes, that's a way you take coaches and then blow up that side. Go from coaches to entrepreneurs. It's like how can I the exact same criteria I gave Heather on the how do we take children's books and make it just publishing, right? How do I make coaches and just generalize the outcomes to business, and then it could be Muslim business as opposed to Muslim coaches, right? I think that's the way you go from general. That's the way you go from more. Yeah, that's why you expand your market, your total addressable market. Yes, 100%. And your risk with that is that you run into that generalized issue versus specific, and also the by trying to speak to entrepreneurs, you try and speak to everyone. So it's like you may have to start redefining the outcomes of your product in clearer terms. More business terms rather than get more clients. It's grow top line revenue or whatever. I'm plucking outcomes out of the sky, but you see where I'm going with that, right? Your promises and your headlines are and of your products. You may need to redefine them, and it may also come with some internal product development redesigning as well. You have to kind of re-architect the product side. Also, if I said your name right, Suwash, am we close?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, just a little follow-up question to that. So one of the things that I was looking at, right, is would it be useful to maybe look at, okay, in the general market, which one are like the best programs for entrepreneurs and looking at studying their language and studying their, so I know a few companies that, like, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Sullivan, right? So his programs are I've done one of his programs, and it was like maybe 5% or 10% coaches. And it's a world-class product, right? Would you maybe recommend looking at that, like looking at a program like that and actually studying that and then seeing how can we bring that to the Muslim market?
Yeah. That can be that kind of links back to, I suppose, the idea of taking I'm not sure, you've probably heard these types of stories before, but a lot of simple example is Alibaba in China as an e-commerce company. They literally replicate what's working in the US. They take
Yeah.
the Amazon model and they replicate it in China. They're now doing the AWS server side and they're doing that. They're modeling the AI stuff. They're bringing that into their business, right? So you're essentially looking like, hey, what's working in the broader market, the broader world, and how can I bring this over to essentially the Muslim market is just operating, 5 or 10 years behind the kind of the current coaching market or the current business market that you're seeing on a global scale, and not from a capacity perspective, just from them having attention paid to them from a marketing perspective, right? The same energy isn't going in specifically for that audience. So that's a good way of thinking about it for sure, definitely.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Great
No,
session.
my pleasure, my pleasure. Who else? Yeah, Ravi, you've got some thoughts. Hop up if you want, mate.
Hey, I wasn't prepared for that.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. Don't worry. Don't let me put you on
no,
the spot. I feel like we're friendly enough that I can put you on the spot.
I know. I was just listening to Shivas. I mean, basically my what I put in the chart was basically the mechanism is working and the principles and philosophies behind what they are doing is working, and that's what attracting other set of customers. Okay, it's like I see it and hey, that's working. What is working over there? They are attracted to the mechanism of it more than anything else. So if you could package the mechanism itself and make it as an upstream product, if you go up the stream and then make it as a product and package them like the analogy Kevin gave, like what was working in Amazon here and take it as a cloud service. Amazon started, the cloud was their internal project. So AWS came out of their internal project and everybody wanted it and they started delivering it as a big, and then become 50% of Amazon business later on, I believe. It was started as an internal project. So that was what I was saying as a mechanism. Take the mechanism, package it as an upstream product, and then deliver it, and so that you get, TAM, like you were talking, total addressable market. I think it's more a magnitude sale versus a scale,
Yes.
like individual transactions can be bigger than going after like a much market scale.
Yeah. And this, I want to reference two other calls Alan's done. The Clean Biz Ups call. I'm not sure actually I've got the right person here. Ravi's our local lexicon or library of every single call here in NHP. I'm sure you all know this, but for anyone who's coming in, we're going to have a lot of people coming in soon as well as the platform starts going out to the wider world. So on replay, they'll see this. But the Clean Biz Up call is an example of a smaller, more niche market that can still be served, right? So just because I'm talking about scaling here doesn't mean you can't have a more micro niche offer and still create a really nice business with it as well. Like Suwash is a really good example of, he still got up to 2 million in revenue with a kind of the coaches Muslim example. That's an intersecting market. You can still do really nice things in there. It's just like, if your goal is to scale, I want you to have the tools to be able to think about what constraints am I placing? If I want the outcome of a high volume of sales, what constraints am I placing on the product with the way I'm currently creating it that may limit that? That's essentially the outcome of this call. That I'm trying to help give you a set of tools for kind of how do I slice this up so that I can know beforehand that I'm not going to pour a ton of energy into something. Obviously, you can do a dry test or whatever as well, but I'm not going to pour a ton of energy into something, and it's like, actually, I was going down a dusty path anyway, and it was never going to generate an outcome for me based on a singular criteria of thought not being kind of properly analyzed. So go ahead.
If I may add, another thought would be, Alan did a call on market efficiency ratios, which would be a great call to watch for anybody, because it's really a great call to look at the scale and the magnitude of the market. How can you basically, it's one ratio he came up with is like your CPA or CPM divided by the total addressable market divided by the CPA or CPM, or I'm paraphrasing, I'm coding it wrong probably. That ratio tells you the market and then how to expand and go into the different market. This concept is very powerful, what you are talking, and then
yeah. And Alex has, I think, a nice follow-on question here. Just thinking about the Christian market, which works, which would work quite well as well. There's a couple of ways you can slice that, right? So it's like, are you like, there's Orthodox, there's Catholics, there's modern day or the Latter-day Saints, which are Mormons, right? There's lots of different denominations. And so they would be the example of kind of the more narrow scope criteria. But if you can find targeting for those audiences, even like if you build an offer that was specifically for Mormons, for I don't know what it would be, but even okay, let's coaching probably not right, but and actually Mormons are probably a bad example because they tend to want to stay away from technology, right? So, but let's say even Orthodox Christians, the you know, if you can build an offer speaking their language, just you know, just figure out how big that addressable market is, and that can be those can be a great, you know, niche offer. That's a kind of example of type of thinking that would be similar to the clean biz op. It may be a slightly smaller aspect of the market, but if you can go in, there's still enough people in there that you have a large total addressable market that you can go after, right? So the main objection I would have with headers. I don't want to use header. I'm not beating on your offer header, but I'm just using it because it feels like a really nice, clean example. The I feel like, for example, that Orthodox Christian example and the Siwashis example, they speak to the dual criteria. The nice thing about it is it's attached to an identity, and when it's attached to an identity, everyone with that identity is immediately included. Whereas the children's book component is not attached to an identity. It's attached to an outcome, which is not ubiquitously wanted by the audience, right? So that's where the difference comes in, and that's where more of the objection comes in. So I think at the identity level, I think, you know, if you can find identities that are strong and crystallized and build offers around those, I think you can do really, really nicely with these dual criteria. Take stuff that's working and layer in an identity, and it will work really, really well. Matteo, feel free to unmute.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good. How are you today?
Good, man. Hey, so I'm really like, yeah, this is doing my head in a little bit. So I've always been considering niching down, not niching down. So would it make more sense? Like, let's take Heather offer as an example. So would it make more sense to have like two offers that are designed specifically for the two different segments of the market rather than have one generic one?
Yep, you can do that. You can do that as well. Yep. The again, similar, if you've got strong identities that make sense, then that will mean you're going to have an easier time targeting. If your issue will come in, if you start saying you'd be better off having one generalized product. You'd be better off having one generalized product if the generalized product is for example, if let's say I go into targeting in Facebook, and I can only target entrepreneurs. Just use a really simple example, and I create a generalized product that's for entrepreneurs, and let's imagine that's the only audience I could target inside of Facebook ads. I can only target entrepreneurs, and I make two separate products that serve a different subset of the audience. While I'm still serving impressions to the same audience, but only half of them can say yes based on a targeting issue. So that's where I'd be thinking about it. The lens I would be thinking of it through is that you're going to run into a targeting issue if it doesn't hit a large enough cluster, or you can't specifically zoom in on them from a targeting perspective. So like, you know, with Google Ads, you might be able to do it. Charles may help you. So it's nuanced. There's nuanced thinking with regards to that. Yes is the answer. I'll give you a good example. I wrote an SEO product years ago with a partner. I published one with one, and we did one for e-com store owners and then for just entrepreneurs in general. The e-com store owners was an identity. I have an e-com store. It's a very clear category in or out. And SEO is something they already know that they needed and they wanted traffic. So bifurcating in that audience was very easy, and I knew how to target them separately. So that's an example of I can niche in and go more specific on the at the product creation level, because it's not hard to target these people, right? But if you're going to have an impossible time targeting them, and then you have to serve the same impressions to the same audience with the same, you're running two media accounts to the same audience with the same targeting, all you're doing is raising your own CPMs, right? So it's, you need to look at it from a targeting perspective. Can I actually target these? While it would be in an ideal world, like, look, let's split it into 100 products. Let's go to the insane. If I can't target these 100 different dual criterias, then that's where the problem is. So think of it through that lens. I think is the most useful way of thinking of. Do I have multiple ways of targeting this audience that are scalable and make sense? And if I can, then it makes sense to split it up, right? Or consider splitting it up. You could still do a generalized one, and it may work better. But that would be the layers of consideration I'd go through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. All right, cool. Thank you so much, Kevin.
My pleasure.
Kevin, can I just ask a quick question? Because I got to run in like 2 seconds to pick up my kids. But is that where like the catalog model comes in? Like you have different things that they can come to, or
Yes.
am I confusing that?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But for example, I'll just use the children's book example. Let's say you catalog modeled out from the children's offer. One of your catalog was how to write a horror story. Well, I don't want to write a horror story. I can just say no to that. So while you may have you're cataloging using a catalog model to serialize a different type of book that they could write, it violates the criteria of what they want, the outcome they want, which is why a generalized product would do better in that instance of just publish the book, right? For scale, right? And then the way you would catalog in that market would be now turn your book into a course, as an example, right? That type of thinking would be how I think about catalog models. But there's way more ways to slice it. But there's that's just kind of like off rip of the obvious example, right?
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
That helpful? You just have to.
Yes.
What you get on the front, Alan has a good saying. What you get on the front is what you get on the back. So the intent, and the same is true. For every business. So you can't flip the intent of the audience from the core purchase and move it over to the outcome you want for them. So, for example, a real simple example. Let's say you sold a load of weight loss products, and it's like, let's say we just go straight to the upsell, just as the really simple, obvious example. Sold me a weight loss supplement, and the very next product you see is some sort of like bulking up program. It's like it just violates the criteria of the initial purchase. There's no point in this being here. So I would kind of think of it through that lens. It's a little too black and white, but you just have to have a bit of nuance with the how you're thinking about the catalog model.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, no, I guess I like to make things hard myself.
No, I don't think you're making it hard. And as I said, I think like you have a nice niche offer there. I think you'd get that up, and you can get that up and running quite well. But I think if the goal is to scale it, and that's I don't know what the outcome you want or the vision you have for it, but I think if the goal is to scale it up and you want to get lots of front end buyers in, I think thinking about the dual criteria and maybe just removing the children's book component would make that goal easier. But don't let me tell you that that's what you should.
I'm gonna work on that. I think was the long-term goal, but now I see. I actually feel like a little bit better about myself because I was getting a lot of front end, but then the upsells were a bit more difficult. So
yeah, but how many front end sales were you doing?
I mean, when I was running ads, but I get like in my head where I want to make everything perfect, and I know everyone tells me not to be like that, but like 20, 25. When I was running
there's a market there. So like fix sell, and you have a nice you could have a lovely niche offer there and have an expanded one. I may be being overly sensitive to this dual criteria. And that could be my own bias getting in the way. You've got the data. I've had 25 sales a day with no upsells. Well, put some upsells
there.
No,
not in a day, but
okay.
I wasn't that much.
How long were you running the offer for?
Like probably a couple weeks.
Okay. So and how much a day were you spending on paid ads?
I think I spent like 300 or something around that.
Yeah. So it's still a pretty small test pool. So that's like I would look at that as a leading indicator rather than leading indicator data rather than verified. There's a full-fledged customer base for this, but I still do think that there probably is there's definitely a significant audience who want to write books and they want to write children's books. I think you do that right. I just think if the goal is to have, like with the weight loss offers that you see running on ClickBank, there's 1,000 sales a day, a minute coming in. Like that's not the scale you're going to get to with this. But could you get to 50 or 100 sales a day? Yeah, probably. But that may be the ceiling on it without really nailing your economics on the back end. And if you wanted to try and push harder, I think you run into a more natural scaling ceiling with that type of offer. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, let's see. Anyone else have any questions that are coming up? Just feel free, unmute yourself. We'll just go. We'll go. we'll run with it now. I'll check the chat here as well, see if anything else is coming up. Oh yes, sorry, Alex, you were talking about the Christian. I actually answered that. Yes, we're good. Biz, I bet they're targeting Christians. Yeah. Niall's right. Yeah. No, you're not doing things backwards. Okay, guys. So let's see. Let me just check my notes here again, and the doc. Make sure I've left nothing out, and there's nothing I want to make sure that's not included here. And if there's no other questions, we might round the call off here. Has this been valuable as it currently is, guys? Just let me know in chat. I think that's a yes, but has this been helping? Is this helping clarify how you should be thinking about this? And it's like, I'm not saying all of you should be building offers that are scalable, to thousands of units a day, but just be mindful that if that's your expectations, like, no, this may be, maybe you have a great offer right now that can only do 100 sales a day, but that's still a super nice niche place to get started, and then maybe you want to go and build different stuff later or catalog out or whatever. Let's sell more back end stuff. But just being aware of the type of things you need to think through with regards to the avatar, the total addressable market, the dual criteria you're adding to the offer that are maybe excluding larger segments of your audience, and just realize the downstream implications that will have for the business as a whole that you're trying to build, right? Yeah, there's more. We'll do more. We'll probably do a 2.0 version of this call at some point, because there's probably some more I want to say on it. But for right now, I think we're good there. Let me just check chat one last time, make sure there's nothing missing here. Yeah, Heather, I'll clean up the V2 notes here. Leave everything else in there. I'll clean up all these notes.
Hey, Kevin, just a quick question. You shared something at the beginning about the live launch. Can you just maybe very quickly share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So what live launch is would be more focused. Like for example, you've told me about your offer, Swash, but I've seen nothing. Right now so I can only give you generalized feedback rather than zooming in and go, here's how I think you should go about it. So what live launch is we would be there'd be fast feedback kind of twice a week, hot seats where we'll dive in. We can review copy, branding, the aesthetic of what you're doing, your headlines, the whole funnel, email, whatever it is you feel is the current bottleneck in your current process. And it could be for someone who is looking to launch their first offer, or if you're currently running and you think, hey, look, I think this guy can help me optimize what I'm currently doing. That's what live launch is for, right? So that's why it's called live launch. It's like, I'm live, I'm there with you as best I can be, looking through everything that you're working on, and consulting with you in real time on here's the things that we should be doing. So it'll be fast feedback twice a week, weekly hot seats, and I've got some other stuff here that I need to kind of confirm with Alan, more similar mental models, and potentially I'm also running my own offers as well. Obviously I have to keep those private because while I want to share as much as possible, the problem I run into now here as a coach in NHB is that if my offers are public and I become, as we grow, I become part of front facing of the brand, it'll just create a replication crisis. So I kind of have no choice but to keep them private. And it's not from I think you need to be secretive with your info, but just the nature of the game, unfortunately. But with the guys in live launch, I want to share kind of more of my what's working on YouTube, what's working on Facebook from my perspective. Because I'm also.
When is that starting?
A live launch is available from right now. We've only just formalized everything. We'll be setting up our Discords and whatever. So if you want to get help on that, the price of live launch we used to sell AC at about $6,500. This was back in 2019, and that was for a 12-week program. But what we did with live launch and just all the AC, the upgraded programs, instead we said, look, we'll start it at $3,500 and then $1,500 a month. So like after 3 months, it essentially works out as the exact same price as all of my clients. But you may need, if you need 6 months, you can extend it on your own basis based on just coming in, or if you may only need a month or two. And it's like, I don't want to, we don't want to charge you for something you don't need from a utility perspective. We want to make sure we're providing you value. So that's why we segmented it up that way from a price perspective. So that's how that works.
Is it just focus on the low ticket? Do you guys also like give feedback on the ads and stuff?
Yeah, I can look at the full funnel structure now. If you're looking for like someone to come in and like really dissect your paid media side, depending on what platform you're running, I can give you some generalized feedback there. But like Lauren is the grandmaster for Facebook, and if you want to like go on YouTube or Google and you're running that traffic, Charles will be the one to do that. But as a really simple, obvious path for anyone who is currently let's say pre-launch or maybe barely got their offer going, and just like feels like it needs some help around the edges, I could absolutely help clean it up, get it ready, get it going, and then it's like, hey, this has got to 50 or 100 sales a day. I can't scale it any further with my current structure. Then that's the perfect moment to move to Charles, right? If you're currently already at that level and you just want more traffic, then Charles and Lauren are your guys, right? Or if you're having an issue, let's say you're working with Charles and Lauren and or Brandon with CRO as well. If you need optimization work, like we've hit our paid media ceiling here, we need to optimize. We need to do some split testing. Brandon's perfect for that. Or it may be a case that the offer is poorly defined and you need some help with me. So
are these going to be all like little cohorts run by the different NHP
yes,
coaches?
They're different cohorts based on the coach. So if you wherever you feel your biggest weakness is kind of what where you should be selecting. But live launch specifically is about helping really tighten up the products, the funnel and product side. That's really where my specialty is. And low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket. I got plenty of experience with all of it. But focusing on how do we make this product better. That's essentially what live launch is for.
Thank you.
Super. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Eda, oh yeah, no, it's from the earlier. Don was asking for to share the doc, which he's got. Okay. What about ascending people from low? Alex, what do you mean? Can you unmute yourself? Kevin's selling his feet. You guys are. Yeah, of course, yeah. If you're whatever you're doing on your high ticket backend, yeah, of course you could do that for could do that for as part of live launch as well. Yeah. Like what's your call working process, the call booking forms, issues on the sales calls, etc. All that type of stuff. We can do all that feedback for you as well. Yeah, 100%. So, any other questions, guys? Or I'm going to kill the call here. I'm glad you've all got some value out of this. Got 31 people for the whole duration. I think it's been a good one.
I have a quick one.
Yes.
So do you think the best way to scale is by getting into new audiences, or like expanding the product? What do you think?
Give me
like the catalog model.
Yeah. The catalog model. I think the catalog model is probably better if without knowing what your offer is. I think once you get one offer working to a certain level, it's like the instinct is to like go and do a million different things to try and squeeze an extra $1.50 out of the upsell 7. But it's like only so much of that you can do. You've squeezed as much of it almost as much out of it as you can. That going to a catalog model and adding additional products probably makes more sense in terms of a return on time, building an additional funnel, additional products, additional things that you can sell and service the audience with. Obviously, if there's a limitation on the product side where expanding it would create a better future for the customer, then that's where your leverage will be. But without kind of seeing specifically what you're working on, that would be how I would think about it. Once you've got as much use as you can out of the core offer, you're probably better off going onto a catalog model and expanding that way.
Got you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And then Francis says, thoughts on broadening your market via segmenting versus just broader. This feels like the dual criteria that we kind of were touching on earlier. Francis, do you want to just unmute yourself there and clear that up for me if you can?
Yeah, maybe I didn't fully understand everything you've gone into today, but maybe that was the dual criteria, because I don't when you mentioned that, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. So dual criteria
Um,
would just be okay. If a DFAN statement stuff I was talking about for Heather. So if I want to write a book and it's a children's book, right? That's a dual criteria. They have to fit both criteria. So is that what you mean by segmenting? Like adding it, like segmenting up the audience by people who want to write children's books, horror books, fiction books. Is that what you mean by segmenting, or what are your?
yeah, most I'll just give you the specific example I'm talking about is a program that helps people strengthen their joints and avoid injuries, rather than being marketed as a broader fix, marketing to people
Yeah.
who struggle with injuries, who do
Oh,
jujitsu
yeah,
or
got it. So I'm in physical pain in my body somewhere versus I have pain in my joints, or I'm a jujitsu practitioners with pain, or people who are doing jujitsu with pain. Um, what's broadening versus market sentiment in that? Just broader.
so the messaging on our ads that we tested verse is marketing to people who exercise, who go for injuries,
Yeah.
just general people versus specific athletes or general athletes. So loads of different segments, but slightly it's the same kind of problem, but in loads of different markets rather than just the general.
That one feels similar to what we were talking about with the Muslim and Christian identities one there. I think you can have, that feels almost like the generalized joint issues is like the whole world. The joint issues plus athlete is like the Muslim market, and the joint issues plus jiu-jitsu as an example, which would be another one, would be more like the Christian market. It's like I feel like those identities are potentially strong enough to segment that way. So I think you could do either. It would really just be down to how confident I am that I can, like I said to, I can't remember who was speaking to earlier when they were asking a similar question, where it was like, if you become constrained by your capacity to target these people efficiently with paid media, and you have to serve impressions, and you can't target different segments of the market, with different targeting. You're essentially you're creating multiple offers to run them to the same audience. That would be my main concern that I would have with that type of offer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
So a more generalized
Thank
offer may do better, and then you can cluster identities rather than it being for jiu-jitsu, as you said, it can be for athletes, and then you cluster athletes together. That might be a simpler one to target versus a general. So I might split it that way if I was thinking of splitting it. Would be have one for just general strengthen your joints for everyone, and then just athletes. Athletes feels like a nice one to just have as a thing. And athletes, under athletes, you can have wrestlers, you can have football players, you can have whatever, that type of stuff. That would be the way I would probably go about that, if just, without diving into more deeper into what you're offering. I think that would be the natural way I would segment that. I wouldn't go the level deeper and go into, for volleyball players type segmenting. You could, but
okay. So we've currently got like our winning ads are on the athlete level. That we were considering like going deeper and just because there's like 200, like 200 different things that we could segment into that. Rather than just doing it as broad. And we thought maybe the ads would convert at a better rate if we did segment, because they are still broad. Like everybody who does jujitsu, still very broad, if we're doing it worldwide.
Yeah. But if you're finding the athlete angle is the one working for you, then your instincts are probably not wrong. If you feel like it's just really, do I think I can target the people who are into jiu-jitsu or not? That's really it. And if you can, then maybe that makes sense. Maybe it does make sense to segment that way. What kind of volume are you doing in front end sales on the kind of athlete angle, or that'll kind of give you an insight into how what your kind of potential scale is with it on its, and like what's your current ad spend on it?
Yep. Was that a question, or were you just speculating
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a question just to help me kind of give you maybe.
Yeah. So averaging around, we maxed out at 10K a day. Probably averaging about I don't know, like 3.5 at the moment.
Yeah.
But we hit a bit of a ceiling in terms of results, which is one of the reasons we were thinking of just segmenting it out.
Yeah, I'd speak to Charles and Lauren as well. I think one of their programs would
Okay.
be.
Okay, perfect.
Obviously, we can help you with the with the product formulation side as well. But I do think speaking with Charles and Lauren, just gotten up to that level of scale already. It may be a case that you could split it out by athlete, but I think, you know, even from a targeting perspective, what's currently there, that could potentially be the way of just, you know, driving the thing. You could probably just drive what you're currently doing harder with it in its current formulation. So you just need someone who's better on the media side potentially.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Okay, guys. Any last questions, or I'm gonna kill it here. All right, we're good to go. Thanks, everyone. I hope you found this useful, and there's probably going to be a bit of a delay on getting this up into the app or getting replays out, just because Alvin is away today. So the replay for this call may take a little bit longer to come out than will be usual. All right. Hey, Nikki, didn't see you there. Thanks, Joanne. Good to see you all, guys. All right, take it easy. Talk soon. Any questions? Any other questions that come up for you as well? Feel free to ask them in the Discord, and I'll respond in there as well. Thanks, guys.